Right, Greenleaf fans. Now, in this video, we're kind of going to break down Grace's prayer. This is like a combination of the prayer as well as the brief encounter with the young man. I've already done several videos on it. The video that's kind of the on the home page of the channel, the one about who is the real AJ at this current moment, it is at 93.7 thousand views. If we keep going at this pace, this should be the first video in quite some time to hit over 100,000 views on the channel. I don't believe we've seen numbers that high since the haves and have-nots was back on the air. And honestly, at this rate, it should hit 100,000 by the end of this week/month. So thank you all for that. A combination of hitting 98,000 subscribers by the end of the month, as well as a video that reached 100,000. So Greenleaf, definitely one of the best things about the channel this year. But the prayer itself, and I've been meaning to do a video on this for a while, because honestly, after that episode of Greenleaf aired, what was it, episode 10, Gratitude, that scene was just so heartwarming, because during that moment of Grace just talking to God, it was so powerful, because at that time it seems as if things were as bad as they could get. Everything was literally falling apart with the Greenleaf family losing the church, Grace stepping down, her and AJ. It was just so much emotion in this talk with God. And honestly, I remember that night after the episode aired, I had a talk with God as well, and my goodness, that just made things a lot better, because sometimes life get, and I'm not trying to preach to you, but this is a Greenleaf video now. Life just happens so fast, and sometimes in the midst of the busyness and the chaos of what we're going through, we forget that we have a direct line to God, and sometimes all it takes is a talk, because that can turn things around. And honestly, when you say things out loud to God, you know he's laughing, because we're talking the creator of everything, and your problems, which you feel could crush and destroy your entire world, are just minuscule peons in the grand scheme of things. So it's all about showing gratitude, as Grace did during that talk with God, talking about how everything is falling apart, but at the same time she's thankful for her family and everything they have, even with people like her sister trying to sabotage her, and her son, you know, going through trials and tribulations. She's still showing gratitude, and because of that, the young man came out of the woods at the right time, apparently, with a message about how everything has an expiration date. And now in the video I recorded about an hour before I did this one, it's the one, what was it, the Greenleaf season 4 overview. If you haven't watched it, make sure you check it out. That video isn't really scripted. It's just me kind of giving my you know, raw thoughts about the season so far, what it was like reviewing it for the first time, things like that. But I touched upon the expiration date part when referencing Carissa and Charity, because I was answering the question about who's my least favorite character, who's my favorite character, and it was really a toss for least favorite between Carissa and Charity. But at the same time, it really did relate to Lady May when I compared Carissa and Lady May, because believe it or not, those two characters despise each other, but they're so similar, especially looking at their actions this season. Whereas we know Carissa was fighting tooth and nail in order to not only, you know, get out of the Greenleaf estate, but honestly to get Jacob to pay attention to her, because this season he was really focused on, you know, after Grace got the job back at the church, but also helping Dante, because he had, you know, a talk with God and felt like, you know, he should definitely get back into helping the youth. And while that's well and good, Carissa definitely felt alone. Now, aside from her nagging about leaving the house and everything, it honestly did feel like she was the only one in her marriage, because of the fact that Jacob was so busy with other things. So she wanted to get the, you know, sell the land to get the house. We found out that wasn't too good of a deal, not to mention the affair, the chlamydia, and all that good stuff, if you will. But we look at Lady May on the flip side, just like Carissa, honestly, is willing to do what it takes to get what she wants, because she feels like her madness is justified, or no, excuse me, what was the same method to her madness? She felt like it was justified because of the righteous reasons of, hey, we need to get our own hearts, minds, and souls in order, our own house in order, before we can get this church back the right way. But at the same time, she was quick to jump at Bob Whitmore's offer without really consulting anyone, and that pretty much just blew up in her face. And throughout the season, we just saw her belittling others and telling people what to do while she was kind of behind the scenes, while really she got some humble pie and some character development, in my opinion, when she was talking with who was it? Vera? I wanted. It was the girl who wanted to put in the motion to have May's name taken off the scholarship, but then she told what happened to her as a little girl and how that, dealt with her being blind, having a blind eye to Mac's activities. So basically, you look at it from the perspective of she wants to get the church back by any means. So basically, she's focusing on what she's lost instead of what she already has and how she can move forward. Kind of like Carissa, her and Jacob had the house, but then lost that. Now they're back at the Greenleaf estate, and she wants out. So really, thinking about what the young man said about expiration date, sometimes you have to, cut your losses, whether it be the church, whether it be the house, whatever the situation is, you have to move forward. And then going back to what AJ told Grace, sometimes, just like a lot of things in this life, not everything is meant to be understood. And then when you combine that with the expiration date, it just goes to show that sometimes God will take away something from you that you love dearly, that you thought was your blessing, only to find that it's part of his grand plan for something even bigger that you can't see. Really, really, really is giving me Abraham and Isaac vibes when he was about to sacrifice his son, because that was God's promise for the longest time. When Sarah was in her 90s when she had Isaac, and then God asked Abraham to sacrifice him to him, and it's just like, whoa, but this is the child you promised me, and I love him with all my heart, and now you want to take him away? What's going on here? But he always gives a ram in a bush to those who are faithful to him. So even though things definitely seem lost at the moment, it does make sense to show gratitude for what they have, because despite how bad things are looking for the Greenleaf family at the moment, things could always be going worse. So Grace's prayer / talk with God about gratitude really, really hit home. I mean, I honestly, my life isn't as in turmoil as the Greenleaf family, but at the same time, that was definitely a great way to end the episode. And once again, if that talk wasn't enough, then the mystery of the young man just adds even more speculation of what's to come during the back half of season 4. But like I said, this video was kind of like deconstructing the prayer and what it has in store for what's to come, kind of like a foreshadowing. Like maybe Charity can learn not to fall in love so quickly, and maybe not necessarily let go of her dream of preaching, but at the same time know that, hey, everything has an expiration date. You're fleeing with Phil or your ex-husband, but at the same time, you need to show gratitude for what you do have, your beautiful son and your loving family, even though you feel like an outsider sometimes. And it doesn't help when you stab people in the back, do things for your own selfish motives, and then when it blows up in your face, you don't have anybody to lean on. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, guys. But let me know what you thought of Grace's prayer. And remember, it isn't necessarily about the young man at the grave, but just Grace's moment. Because remember, this is at a point where she had just resigned from the church and trying to understand why her son wants to turn himself in, and just really trying to cope with what's going on. So thanks so much for tuning in and supporting my Greenleaf videos. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because again, I'll say it again like I did in my other video, after seeing the success of these Greenleaf videos, I'm definitely going to be reviewing it. So if you don't want to miss out, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification icon, so when it does return at some point in 2020, you know exactly where to go for reviews, trailer breakdowns, and other fun discussions. So everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I will talk to you all in the next video.